down in my soul cried, oh, down in my soul cried, well, I'm singing down in my sanctified soul, down in my soul, oh, it cries.
Segregation-wise, as a young child, didn't really realize that we were being segregated until we started integrating things, and it changed a lot of things.
So Plessy v. Ferguson specifically legalized segregation within America. It was the court case that basically said, in layman's terms, white individuals got a pearly white water fountain, black individuals got a rusty water fountain, and as long as you both got water fountains, the verdict of the court case was separate but equal. And so in South Carolina, North Carolina, Alabama, places like that, mandatory segregation, so meaning no matter what you felt, you had to have signs up. Here in Topeka specifically, it was not mandatory segregation, it was permitted segregation. So meaning whatever you chose worked for everybody. The South, yet again, no matter what you felt, you had to put it. Whereas in Kansas, almost made it a little bit more scary, just in the sense of a conversation, because now I know your decision. I know your values. I know you don't want me here, compared to in the South saying, yeah, I might want you here, but legally speaking, I can't allow you to come this way.
You know, actually, the people in the South are nicer than they are in Topeka. There's only one Southern experience that we had, and actually, it kind of was in our favor. In Louisiana, we pulled up to this very nice hotel with 3 vans full of kids and adults, and they had already made arrangements and everything, and they refused to take our money. We stayed there for 2 or 3 days, and they would not take our money. Now that's them, I guess, being racist or kind of leaving us out of the box, but we didn't ever have to pay it. Yeah, South was always real nice to me.
We went to Texas often. I'm sure it was probably worse there, but once you got there, you spent most of your time with family. Family knew where to go. They knew the places you could go. And then in the South, oftentimes there were businesses, black businesses. So once you got to your destination, it wasn't that bad.
In Topeka, the atmosphere was not like it was in the South. Confusing, definitely, because you might have not seen those signs all around, but it still was the law of the land, and quote-unquote black individuals knew their place.
And most of the businesses required blacks to get their food at the back door. You could go to the front, you could go in, tell them what you wanted, but they required you to go to the back to get your food if you were going to get it at all.
There's restaurants that would not let us go in there and eat. We had to go to the back door, and they'd hand us hamburgers or French fries, but later on in life, you could go in there.
We could purchase things at the store. We could even sit at the store, but we could not sit at the counter. My dad would take me in there. On one occasion, I went in there, and I guess I was crying, so I guess one of the waitresses asked him why I was crying, and my dad told her that because they didn't bother to explain segregation to me, that I did not understand, I could not sit at the counter.
And the movie theaters here in Topeka, you had to go sit in the balcony. You couldn't sit down below.
The only movie we could go to, I guess, and sit anywhere was, as far as I remember, is the Ritz Theater. That was located at 4th and Kansas Avenue.
White individuals would sit on the bottom row, black individuals had to go up to the balcony. So meaning if there was, let's say, 50 chairs for black individuals upstairs, if 55 of them showed up that night, yeah, 5 of you guys are gonna have to leave and we'll see the rest of you all tomorrow. Even if it was 150 seats down below for white individuals that were completely empty, those 5 black individuals are gonna have to leave and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
I was the first African American youth cashier in Topeka. I was the first one to work at Fally's in White Lakes, and Mr. Fally said we need to hire her because she's black, but she's a good nigger. And they did. And he said, did you know that? I said, of course. But I was going to be the very best person that I could be. And there were people who literally would not come through my line because I was black. And I had a man that worked in one of the stores. He would go around to a long, long line of people before he would even come to my line. And he had to come. And when he came, he would slam his cigarettes down on the belt, and then he would put his money down and say, here. He wouldn't speak or anything. And then I just kept speaking to him because I was Christian. And my pastor, Bishop Stitt, said, always be kind. Keep your job and keep yourself above reproach. So I would keep speaking. And I remember it was one Christmas, he came up and finally said, you know what? If we had more Christian people like you, this world would be a better place. And from that point on, he would come through my line. So I felt like my character was on the line as well as my blackness, and I was not going to act out because of him having a problem. I didn't have a problem.
There were white only fountains and colored fountains and colored bathrooms and white only bathrooms. So that was, and I remember going into the white bathroom when they weren't looking. So that kind of stuck out in my mind. My godmother told me at one particular time, don't look the white man in the eye, Well, I wasn't with it. I'm looking,
Separate but equal. Merely a joke within itself, but when it came to that of education, black individuals got a one-room shack compared to that of a mansion of a school where white individuals would have went. And at the end of the day, the courts, the government basically said, you both have schools, stop your complaining. Obviously a lot to complain about, but at the end of the day, separate but equal at its norm, at its best. That's what it was.
It was my understanding at one time all the schools in Topeka were integrated, and that the elementary schools may have become segregated. They had black teachers, but there was no place for black teachers to teach since they were not integrating the faculty in the schools. And so they needed a place for black teachers to teach. So it was my understanding then they segregated the elementary schools.
Segregated schools in Topeka specifically. This is from my own experience personally. I asked the question of, even though this school or schools within Topeka was segregated, how is your education? Their words, not mine. They said, even though this school and the schools here in Topeka were segregated, I wouldn't trade my education for my life. My teachers were strict, but they loved us and they got us prepared for that real world out there. This education, yet again, master's and PhD teachers that loved them, cared for them, and let them know, even though that world told them that they could not, I'm standing before you and telling you that you can, you will, and you're going to be great.
I really thought the education at Monroe was great, and I wouldn't have given anything for education anyplace else.
I just appreciated the fact that I had all black teachers. They were all nurturing type teachers, but they were very firm, very strict teachers. We had some kind of bad actors often on the bus, and we would complain about them throwing the lunches out or doing whatever, but we had to pack our own lunch. The interesting thing was my kindergarten teacher was a teacher that I said I wanted to be just like her, Mrs. Abbott, and I wanted to be a teacher. That's when I started saying I really wanted to be a teacher.
It seemed like the teachers were more like caring, or, they knew you and they seemed to be more into you and your life and what you're doing kind of thing.
A favorite teacher. Miss Williams was a good teacher. I remember she would take our class over to her house and teach us those dances like they had back in the day of George Washington. We went through those. Our teachers were pretty much strict disciplinarians.
You would have got the exact same amount of funding as a white school would have gotten. You would have had overqualified teachers within these doors, and same books and same resources.
So that was why it was such a big struggle with the Brown v. Board case. It was not because black children wanted to go to school with white kids. It was because you lived one block or 2 blocks from your neighborhood school, and taxes, people's taxes paid for you to go to school, and you could not go just because you were black.
The idea was, it was crazy to have to be bused several blocks to a segregated elementary school when there were schools right in the neighborhood.
You had an all-white school board when they were doing the 54 case, and then Mr. McKinley Burnett and the other attorneys and the other parents all came in, and he said, this doesn't make sense. Our children are going to their home neighborhood schools. And the president of the school board, he said, no, they're not.
And then the board member offered him to go outside and fight. And he said, no, we're going to court and fight this in court.
So that's a flip-flop. The white folks were violent and the black folks were calm.
Linda Brown had to walk about 21 blocks, so roughly 2 miles, to get to this school, which was Monroe School, who everyone knows about, and the actual at the center of the Brown v. Board court case. So meaning that last name is her name. Her father, Oliver Brown, filed a lawsuit because she could not go to the Sumner School, which was the white school that she had to go past every single day to get to Monroe School.
I started off in grade school with her. Linda was my first girlfriend. That's what they called her. Girlfriend in grade school. She was quite bright, smart, intelligent.
When you have individuals like Linda Brown walking up to 21 blocks to get to this school, some would say, well, the fact that she has to walk 21 blocks, unequal, unfair. Okay, well, guess what Topeka did? They provided them a city bus for them to have to get on, meaning no money out of the parents' pocket came from the school board. So you fix that problem. Well, no books, no resources. Give them the same books, the same resources. The individuals that built Sumner School, the school that she wanted to go to, they built this school too. A lot of factors played a part within this court case, that which then showed individuals that you have to kind of step outside of the box. The box being the schools themselves, and try to tackle segregation as a whole compared to equalizing the schools themselves.
A lot of people don't get NAACP. They get into the schools, and this city was doing this, this state was doing that, but it was an NAACP effort.
Mr. Burnett was the president of the NAACP here in Topeka, Kansas, and he contacted the parents, probably the attorneys first, and there was a Jewish lawyer and a white lawyer that helped take care of the case. They all got together, and they knew that it was unfair. The schools were unfair. Housing was unfair. You had to live in a certain place, and you were held back from many things that you could accomplish because of the color of your skin. And they decided to put up a petition, and the parents that signed were willing. And the case, there were 4 other states under the heading of Brown versus the Board of Education. I believe it was Delaware, Virginia, Carolina, and Washington, D.C. And they intended to do something about the segregation.
All right, so we're talking about the education here in Topeka, and the teachers specifically. We're saying, depending on who you ask and what side of the I guess you'll say spectrum they're on, that even you can tie that back into the court case within itself. So a lot of individuals, when you talk about segregation within itself, individuals think every black individual was on board when it came to that of integration, which was not necessarily true, even when it came to that of teachers. So here specifically in Topeka, out of the 4 black schools, not one black teacher agreed to testify during this court case. They were to integrate schools and desegregate them. As a black teacher, you will not teach our white students. We cannot have that happening. That's even with your master's degree, even with your PhD. Yeah, you're gonna have to go find something else to do, because you will not teach our white students. So first and foremost, job security. Why would they testify? Second reason, as a black teacher teaching black students, they see themselves within me. But if you were to remove self from this classroom, you put someone else before them that won't face those same adversities as they're going to face out there in that real world during this time of segregation. People saying that they can't, they won't, they never will. By me standing here, it shows them that they can, they will, and they're just next. But if you remove me from this classroom, who stands before them to show them just that?
I was a few months from being 9 years old, May in '54, when they said integration could take place. My parents and all the other parents were elated, and it opened up avenues and doorways.
The principal of Lincoln came that summer through our neighborhood and was almost door to door talking with our parents. I'm outside jumping up and down and throwing balls and stuff. I don't even know why he's there. But my mother told me that we were going to start going to school because it was him and a couple of ladies. I don't know if they were secretaries or teachers or something. But yeah, that's how we found out.
The mind of really young people, other places. We weren't concerned with political events.
My mother just accepted what they said, and that's where we went. And so we were just bouncing along, going to school. Oh, you know.
I was fearful, I was nervous, and my mother just continued to tell us, this is going to be a different experience. Don't show out. Be on your best behavior. When I come home and say, well, this person has this or that, she said, we can't afford that. We can only afford to do what we can afford to do. I still had a good educational experience and support because our parents just wanted us to be the best. She never thought I would go to college, or my brother. They just wanted us to have a good job and be the best kids we could be.
A lot of people come in and say, well, Brown v. Board kind of basically overturned Plessy v. Ferguson completely. No. If Brown v. Board truly overturned everything, there'd be no reason for the civil rights movement. Brown v. Board only overturned the verdict of schools. It says segregation is unconstitutional within the school setting. Hotels, water fountains, buses, still segregated. Now, what Brown v. Board did was give them that motivation, that inspiration. It's just like if you got F after F after F after F, and we keep that going, that next test you're going to go into, you're going to be like, yeah, I know this is about to be an F, but let it happen to be an A. I don't care what happens after that A. You could get a C the next, but that next test you go into, you're going to have some kind of, you're going to feel good about yourself. You're going to be like, man, no matter what, I'm going to do great.
I don't believe they understood how far-reaching it would be when integrating the schools, how it would change everything.
They got F after F after F after loss after loss. Brown v. Board hit, got you a victory. Man, if we can win it right here, we can go out here and change this entire country. And that's what they began to do.
Our pastor did not want us as youth, but we were always visible when there was some, like if they were getting ready to walk out, we were always kind of visible. My brother was a little bit more aggressive than I was. Then as we got a little older, we established the Concerned Citizens for Equal Justice. We became court watchers because we started seeing cases where we felt were unfair. And so we started in the community now. This is as we were getting older. But even as youth, when the whole, the assassination of Martin Luther King, the assassination of Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy were really, it like gripped our hearts because those were people that we felt wanted justice for all. So we really began to rise to the occasion.
I came to Topeka and joined the local Black Panther Party under the leadership, for me, was Arthur Bryce and the Bryce family, which was a real prominent family that escaped out of Tulsa, Oklahoma during the riots. I'm just thankful that God allowed me to be a part of some of the things that have brought about changes for the good.
That civil rights movement, here we are in 2019, and unfortunately people still haven't yet to stop fighting for their civil rights. Your Martin Luther Kings, your Rosa Parks, those individuals that have been those people that have paved the way, they've done their part. We're standing on the backs of giants, and they've done their part. It's our turn.
What I think is happening now is that you have people of all races, especially your young college or youthful group. They're stepping up, standing up, speaking up, and they are defying and opposing a system that they still see as racist.
Young people are ruling the day, and without y'all, I think we would be stagnated. I'm just struggling with joy just to see all the good things. And I challenge my generation to inspire y'all to even greater heights. I love what y'all are doing. Y'all mixing it up and changing the world for the better.
I kind of grew up with the mindset that this is about God's creation. Everybody has purpose. We need to have the love of the Lord in our heart. It gave me another platform that I could express being black, or being independent, being a liberated person, because I'm not just about being a black person, I'm about a person of character. So I feel like that God turned my life around. I have a testimony of who I am, who I'm created to be, and it's not just a black-white, it's not a color thing, it's not a race thing, it's about who I am. So integration, to me, I became enmeshed in a lot of activities where there were a variety of people, especially whites. We know that society identifies you. Society describes who you are. So when I talk to the children, I talk to them about, let's go back and look at your cultures. And then you pull from all of that. You learn something from all those people are valuable.
The children put every nationality here on this floor. They will play together, eat out of each other's plates, sleep in the same bed. Hatred and prejudice is taught, and that's very sad. All your experiences change your life, and I know that my mother was courageous, my father as well. They would do anything to have a positive environment for us. They worked hard. They taught ethics, work ethics, all of that. You have to teach it, and you have to live it before your children.
And we appreciate cultures, appreciate diversity, appreciate the kingdom. All right.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmonies of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let every sound loud as the rolling sea sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the